The NBA playoffs has already been wild already, with some teams playing 2 games in the first round and other teams still waiting to play their second game. It's already been a wild playoff series as well, with the injury to Wemby and things happening. So we're going to cover some of the playoff games that happened last night. We're also going to talk about how the Detroit Pistons can avoid getting out to a 0-2 deficit in their playoff series. We'll talk about all that plus more right after this.
Welcome to the number one place for your daily basketball news and analysis, NBA Central.
What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome to another episode of NBA Central, your number one spot for everything basketball related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at NBA Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into it. I want to start off talking about the Pistons. We're going to get to the playoff games that happened yesterday, but I want to start off talking about the Pistons because the Pistons, who are the number one seed in the Eastern Conferences, been a top 10 offense and defense in the regular season, left a lot to be desired in the first game against the Orlando Magic. And one of the questions that I threw out after that game was, is this the Detroit Pistons coming back down to earth, or their inexperience shining out? Or is this the Orlando Magic really starting to get back to the team that a lot of people expected them to be? They just haven't lived up to those expectations. And we're going to see that, right? That's the whole point of these series being 7 games, is we're going to see exactly which one that is. Typically throughout a 70-game series, you find out what that is, right? The Orlando Magic just did not feel like themselves in that first game. The Detroit Pistons just did not feel like themselves against that first game against the Orlando Magic. Detroit has to really match the physicality of the Orlando Magic. You can't let a team like the Magic out-physical you, right? So what are the things that the Detroit Pistons need to do to avoid going out to 0-2 deficit against the Orlando Magic? Number one, I'll say this. You have to get Jalen Durant more involved. Jalen Durant has to be more of a dominant presence on both sides of the ball. You need that dominant physical presence from Jalen Durant. Wendell Carter outplayed Jalen Durant in that first game. It is just the reality of it, right? And when you look at Jalen Durant, he had 8 points in that game in 33 minutes. And while Jalen Durant is only 22 years old, and sometimes young players have rough first playoff series as they're learning how to get to it, right? He's going to have to be better on the defensive side, give more, offensive ability in that as well. You got to be tougher in that. The Detroit Pistons finished with a 28-6 record during the regular season when Jalen Durant scored at least 20 points. You need that from Jalen Durant in this series. Durant is going to have to go at Wendell Carter and at any big that's on him on that Orlando Magic team. If Jalen Durant can do that and do it consistently, the Detroit Pistons can find their way back in this series. You're going to need that from him, right? And so you also look at Jalen Durant. He finished the regular season 6th in rebounds, and he just didn't have enough rebounds in that game at all either. So it was such a quiet performance from Jalen Durant. You just need better from him from top to bottom. You have to do that. And because the Detroit Pistons were dominated in the paint by a 20-point margin in regards to that, the Orlando Magic outscored them 54-34 in the paint. Jalen Durant has to be so much more of a bigger factor in that. The number one team in NBA paint in the scoring, the Pistons were that. They were number one inside the paint scoring. You have to get back to that against Orlando Magic. Do not let the Magic take away what you do from you best. Otherwise, the series is done before it ever even really gets started. Next, you got to get better bench production if you're the Detroit Pistons. You just have to get that done. It was a quiet night for the Detroit Pistons in scoring off the bench. You need to do that, right? They finished the night with 20 points from its bench unit, which isn't necessarily terrible, but you need better from that. You're going to need Dennis Jenkins, who is in the candidate from 6-man. Like you need to get those type of things. He was 1-7 from the field, 1-6 from 3-point range. You just need better from that. And then you look at Cunningham and Tobias Harris. They were the only Pistons as well who finished the game scoring in double figures. You just need more scoring punch from them overall, and we got to see what's going to happen in that one. Then I'll see also in this one, the Detroit Pistons got to get back to doing the dirty work, man. You need that. Whether it's Thompson, whether it's Holland, whoever it is, as the reliable defenders on this team, you're going to need those guys to play really well. You're going to need those guys to muck up this game. You have to throw off the Orlando Magic from what that does. And, Ron Holland and Sor Thompson are two of the biggest proponents to that. They have to be in that. They have to give that dirty work for this team. If they don't do that, it's going to be ugly, right? So you can't allow the shot makers of like Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner, Desmond Bane, you can't allow these guys to get clean and uncontested look. You can't allow these guys to go untouched. You have to get it physical with this Orlando Magic's team. And so if you rotate solidly defensively, and that's really where I want to see the Detroit Pistons really make their mark on this game first. You got to do it defensively. You do it defensively, other things are going to fall in after that. So get in that done, right? You got to be tough defense. You need Jalen Durant involved more, and you need a better production from your bench unit. If the Detroit Pistons to get that done consistently, then you just never know what's going to happen in regards to that. And you're also going to need Stewart and Durant to be better rim protectors overall in this series, because we know the Orlando Magic aren't a great three-point shooting team, but if you allow them to get uncontested looks at the rim, or even in the mid-range for that matter, where they like to thrive at, that's where things are going to get away from you in a series. So I really want to see the Detroit Pistons defense tonight really start trying to take away kind of what the things that the Orlando Magic like to do, make them uncomfortable. We've already seen it. When you do that consistently, the Orlando Magic can get thrown off their game a little bit. It's up to the Detroit Pistons to do that consistently against this Magic team in this series to avoid what some of the other series have done that we're going to talk about on this episode. But let me know what you guys think on that down below. What do you think the Detroit Pistons can do to get back into this series? And I say get back into the series may be strong of words there, but what do they need to do to keep this series from completely getting away from them? Because as it stands right now, it's getting ugly, it's getting nasty, and I don't want to see the Detroit Pistons go down in an 0-2 deficit when they have home court advantage in the playoffs. So let me know what you guys think on that down below. With that said, let's talk about Game 2. The Houston Rockets, man. Listen, Kevin Durant was ass. Like, let's just be frank. Kevin Durant had one of the most ass games that I've ever seen from Kevin Durant, period. And as you being the big acquisition for this team that was meant to get them over the top, you just got to have a better performance from that. 9 turnovers from Kevin Durant. He took only 12 shots. Now he did 23 points off those 12 shots, but it just was not a good series for a good game for Kevin Durant. It just wasn't at all. By no stretch of the imagination was that a good game from Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant played like absolute ass last night. And if he's going to keep playing like that, it's going to be an ugly series. Like, this is a Lakers team that you have now let get out to a 2-0 lead against you, and they do not have Luka Doncic. They do not have Austin Reeves. So what are we doing now? Like, what is this happening with this team? Now, it's not all on Kevin Durant, right? Now, Şengün had a much better game, too, with 20 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 blocks, 4 steals, only 1 turnover. So Al-Farouq did his part of the job. Jabari Smith with also 18 points, 6 rebounds, 16 points from Amin Thompson, 10 off the bench from Tari Eason, which was the only player to score off the bench, right? But that 23 points in 41 minutes off 12 shots for Kevin Durant and 9 turnovers. This was one of the most disgusting games I've ever seen from Kevin Durant in my life, right? And it's just bad. And when you look at it, Kevin Durant had scored 20 points through the first 2 quarters on 6 of 7 shooting and 7 of 7 from beyond the arc. You look at that second half for Kevin Durant, it was just ugly. He scored fewer points in the second half than he had turnovers. So, again, and I'm not saying that this is all on Kevin Durant's shoulders, that the whole failure and the fact that the Houston Rockets are down to 0-2 deficit is all on Kevin Durant, because in the first game, Şengün did not show up. The second game, Kevin Durant, despite scoring decent, when you just look at the box score, his second half was ass cheeks. So it's like, what are you going to do with it when it comes down to it? He tied a career high in giveaways in his postseason career. That's it. That's what he did. So now the Rockets, who now are at an 0-2 deficit, they have to go back to LA and win both those games. They just have to. If you don't, it's going to be completely ugly in that case. I'm sorry, go back to Houston and win those 2 games, because if you don't, it's going to be ugly. And so now you just got to look at this thing and wonder to yourself, like, what is happening here? What is really happening here? So, hopefully the Houston Rockets can get both games at home, make this series interesting. But if they lose one of those games at home, it seems like it's done. And yes, they're still a very young team. Yes, they made a trade for Kevin Durant. They're also missing Fred VanVleet. All those type of things are true. But, like, you can't be and have the expectations that the Houston Rockets had coming into this season and then shit the bed like this, man. I just expected their defense, especially without Luka and Austin Reeves, to just be much better than what it has been, but it hasn't. This has been ugly, man. This has been ugly. Elite first half, ass second half. And, is this the question that you have to ask when it comes down to Kevin Durant? Is this age catching up to him? Or is this just a bad night? Hopefully it's just a bad night, right? But as far as for the Rockets going forward, this puts their error margin at a very small place of error margin the rest of the way for the series. Now, if they win both games going back home to Houston, then that changes a little bit for them. But as it stands right now, man, the pressure is not only on the Houston Rockets, they just listen. They got to win both games at home, and I'm not one that talks in absolutes like that. But I think If they don't win both these games at home, not only do I think they're probably going to lose this series, they may get swept if they don't win the first game at home. And I'm going to be 100% honest with you on that one. They may very well get swept. So, we'll see what's going to happen with that one. The other game that I want to talk about is the Portland Trailblazers and the game that Scoot Henderson had. Now, we cannot talk about this game without talking about the fact that Wemby went down in concussion protocol after only playing 12 minutes in this game, and he's going to be in concussion protocol for a while, it seems like. They're not ruling out that he's going to be able to return in this series. We'll see what happens with that one. But the San Antonio Spurs lost this game 106-103. So, still were able to keep it close. The Portland Trailblazers outscored them 27-23 to seal that victory in the fourth quarter. But you got to talk about the night from Scoot Henderson. 31 points from Scoot, who started in this game, 38 minutes, 11-17 from the field, 5 of 9 from three-point range. No assists, so take that for what you will, but he did have a steal and a block as well. But this was a game where Scoot Henderson looked like every bit of the potential that we wanted to see from Scoot Henderson. It's just the reality of it, right? Denny had an off night, 13 shots, only 14 points off those 13 shots. Shaedon Sharpe only took 5 points, scored 9 points, or took 5 shots, scored 9 points in that one. But you had Scoot Henderson that just uplifted his team in ways that, I'll tell you what, shout out to Tiago Splitter, who's done an excellent job stepping in for Chauncey Billups as the interim head coach. And he is and Scoot deserves all the praise that has come from him. He put the Portland Trailblazers on his back in this game, and all that star potential that we saw coming into the draft and things like that. It's great to see it in regards to Scoot Henderson lived up to it. At only 22 years old, to be able to have what he gave in that one, it's great to see. Keep in mind, Scoot Henderson shot below 40% from the field as a rookie, and he just has gotten better and better and better. And so now that they've split these two games with the San Antonio Spurs, and the fact of the matter remains that, hey, we don't know what's going to happen with Wemby. This is the area where Tiago Splitter and the Portland Trailblazers got to take advantage of this and try to steal another game. Try to steal another game or two. Make it interesting, because when Wemby comes back, it's not going to be cake. It's not going to be easy. And it wasn't easy for them last night either. But you get Wemby going down in concussion protocol, and Scoot Henderson just had himself an absolute night. It was his career best performance. It came in the playoffs. And, you love to see the way that his coach, you love to see the way that his players, and you just love to see the way that people have talked about him. Like, Scoot Henderson is a player with a lot of promise, right? But there's been a lot of criticism, rightfully so, earned by him by the way that he has disappointed with his play so far. But this is why you got to be patient with players. It takes some players longer than others to really adjust to the NBA, right? Because you're playing against players that have more quickness, more speed, more consistently than what you've done at any other point of your playing career. And maybe Scoot's just a late bloomer in that case. And if it is, great, because this is a up-and-coming Portland Trailblazers team that has a lot of talent on it. I think they have a lot of talent on it, and I'm going to be really interested to see how the rest of this series goes, because we could have seen, between the Wemby injury and the Scoot breakout and stuff like that, we could have seen this series, the whole dynamic of it, change right in front of our eyes. And we got to see what's going to happen here. Tiago Splitter and his comments after the game about Scoot and being committed and focusing have been great as well. He said this: "I saw the work he put in. He's very committed young guy to get better. Slowly, when he got better, recovered from his injury, slowly you can see flashes of him. I think he's in the stage where he's now a little bit more mature. The game is a little bit slow for him. He's shooting the ball well, and now he's just flourishing." And that's exactly what he did in game 2 against the San Antonio Spurs. So we'll see if he can have a repeat performance, if he can keep it going, and see what he can do with it. Because I tell you what, it just feels really good to see Scoot Henderson be able to have a performance like he had last night. And then, hey, we can't overlook it either. Like, I said it over on Locked On Bulls, right? VJ Edgecombe and Tyrese Maxey were bound to have a blow-up game. And they did, combining for almost 60 points, 59 points between the two of them. You had VJ Edgecombe going 12 of 20 from the field, Tyrese Maxey going 11 of 28 from the field as well. The 76ers shot 48% from the field, but 49% from three-point range as a team last night against the Boston Celtics, who the Celtics, despite their three-point shooting prowess, shot only 26% from three. So, you saw the Philadelphia 76ers take advantage of a cold shooting night. The Boston Celtics were 39% from the field, and Jason Tatum had 19 points on 19 shots. You had a good night from Jaylen Brown of 36 points, but those are only two Boston Celtics to score in double figures last night, and it left a lot to be desired. So now you're seeing that this series now, going back to Philly, is tied 1-1. Can the Philadelphia 76ers steal another game at home? That's what I'd be trying to do to maintain stealing back that home court advantage from the Boston Celtics. And that's really what it comes down to for them. In this game, you got 19 points from Paul George, no points from Adem Bana, but he played some solid defense in his 22 minutes. You got some solid 26 minutes from Andre Drummond, who did score 10 points and 8 rebounds in his 26 minutes, off the bench as well for them. This series is not done. And I'm glad that Tyrese Maxey and the Philadelphia 76ers took it another step to make this series interesting. We just got to see what's going to come next for this. But tonight, we got some more games coming up tonight, of course, in the playoffs, as it is every night. I want to hear from you guys, too. Would you like nightly recaps? So we got the Orlando Magic, Detroit Pistons tonight, and the Phoenix Suns, OKC Thunder. Let me know if you guys like some nightly recaps in regards to those games. But that's been my time for today. This playoffs has been absolutely crazy, and I don't think it's going to stop. But I want to hear from you guys in the comments. Are the Pistons in real trouble? Is Scoot Henderson, has he officially arrived, or is this just a blip in the pan? And do you think this was the worst playoff game of KD's career? Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel as well. You can follow us at NBA Central Pod on every social media platform. You can also send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. NBACentralPod@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and a voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the number one spot for everything basketball related. I'll catch you guys the next time I feel like making a video. Prior tomorrow. Peace, y'all.
Been a presentation of the Break Media.